Hi, everyone. This is Kabrina, your publicity director for the Harvard Artist Gallery. And this is episode 3 of our spotlight featuring Marisa, who's our development director. So I want to start by actually just saying to you, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm super happy to be here. I'm excited that you're doing this series and that I get to participate.
Yay. And look at that beautiful art in the background. Wow. So, we're gonna get to know you a little bit, and then, of course, I'll have a few more questions, and then we'll close it out. So, I want to first ask you we want to get to know you. Tell us about you.
Yeah, so I am an artist living in Harford County. I am a mom. I have 3 kids, and a bunch of animals, a bunch of dogs. My kids are 14, 12, and 9. You might hear kids or dogs in the background of this recording at any time because it's summer, so everyone is everywhere. And I work in nonprofits. I've always worked in nonprofits. I work as a nonprofit fundraiser, basically. So I currently work for a cool little organization called the Natural History Society of Maryland. And I've been with them a little less than a year and do grant writing and fundraising. And I really love it. I've worked in schools, I've worked in affordable housing. So I've always been professionally in a sort of fundraising and grant writing and nonprofit administration kind of role. So that's a little bit about me.
That's great. That's great. Wow. And yeah, your house when it's quiet, you take full advantage of it, I'm sure.
I try. Somehow there are several children in my house, but it's very quiet still. So that means the other shoe is going to drop any minute. We're gonna do our best.
I get it. I get it. So can you tell us what is a development director? That's your title. And to those of us that don't know, what do you do?
Yeah, so the development director role on the board is something that I'm new to. I'm a volunteer, and basically it means I'm in charge of fundraising.
Okay.
So development being resource development. I mean, obviously I've already shared I do that in my paid job as well, and it's what my professional background is. So when I was approached about whether I was able and interested to volunteer in that capacity. It seemed like a really good fit. And some of my skills that I could bring to Harvard Art Association, which I have been involved with for about a year. And I really wanted to help out. So, that means that sometimes I write grants, sometimes I help with fundraising activities
Wow.
as a volunteer on the board. And I'm pretty new to it, but I'm working it out best I can.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for explaining that. And you said you've been at the gallery for about a year. What brought you to the gallery?
When I moved up to Harford County from Baltimore City about a year and a half ago with my family, we had lived in Baltimore City for, oh my gosh, my husband and I for over 20 years and loved Baltimore City, but we were ready for a little bit of a change.
Mhm.
And that brought us out here to Forest Hill. And when we came out here, I was looking for arts organizations that I could connect with. So I wandered into the gallery one day and I think I spoke with Carrie, and started exhibiting shortly after our move was finalized. And it ended up just being a really lovely fit and a really great community of artists that I've gotten to know. And it's just been great to get connected up here, where we're kind of putting down some new roots.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Is the gallery life new for you, or is this something you've done for the last 15, 20 years?
New-ish.
Okay.
So I came back to making art during COVID
Okay.
after like 20 years and a couple kids and a whole career that was not in the arts. Um, as as a kid and as a younger adult, I mean, I'm in, my 40s now, but when I was in my 20s and when I was in high school, I always had art in my life. I was that
Mm.
like weird kid who had to get special permission to take both a visual art and a music in high school and skip my lunch so I could have art and music both in my schedule. And in college, even though I didn't major in art, I always, when I could, made space for a visual art class in my schedule, but it never occurred to me that it could be like a thing, a thing. It was like it was extra. It was always something extra, but I put it there because I knew I really enjoyed it.
Yes.
So when I don't know, became a real grown up, and I got a job and I got married and I had kids, all of that kind of got put away. And then during COVID, like everyone else, I'm sure, I mean, I was going bananas, trapped in my
Yes.
house with my kids and my husband and I. Everyone was doing school from home and work from home, and we were in our tiny Baltimore City row house, and I like needed something. So I
Yes.
started taking some just online art classes as something to like, try to get it flowing. And I had always wanted to learn portraiture, and I just couldn't quite figure it out because I didn't have like, formal training. I had this sort of hodgepodge of
Yes.
artistic experiences, but not like a whole thing. And then it just clicked and took off from there. So apparently a 20-year break is not too long. And so before we moved up here to Harford County, I had been exhibiting or just around the area locally, a couple of
Okay.
places in Baltimore, a couple shows here and there. But it is.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, this is as it goes when we're interviewing and we have kids and pets. This is the kind of stuff that happens. So, no, this is great. If you need to
Sorry
address
about.
your kid,
Yeah.
yes. No, it's great.
This is real life.
Yes,
I told my
exactly.
family I am in a meeting for 20 minutes, don't interrupt me, but then I had dogs and kids coming in my room. It's all good. This is the way life is sometimes. Sorry about
Is
that.
it? It is. It is. No problem. No problem.
Anyway, so I came back to making art. I started exhibiting around locally, which is why it was important to me to poke around as soon as we moved up here so that I could find my people up here in
That's
Harford County.
great. That's great. That's a common theme I'm hearing. Find my people. And folks delaying the whole art piece and then like it's sticking like at this time in their lives. So like what are you drawn to? Do you have like uh, I'm looking behind you. Is that acrylic paint? Is there watercolor? What do you like to do? What do you like to dabble in?
Yeah, so I work in acrylic paint a lot. When I mentioned that I started taking just sort of like random classes
Yeah.
that drew my attention online, and I ended up taking a series of classes that focused on use of abstract color. And so acrylic paint, but using it in sort of a non-realistic manner. And that really grabbed me because I had always done that informally, but I didn't necessarily have the full background in like color theory and all the ways that colors, do all the things. And so after sort of taking a couple of classes and doing some self-paced learning, that really grabbed me. So I love to paint in abstract color, and then I started doing this work in mixed media collage, which is just so engrossing for me and something I really enjoy. And so behind me on this side
Yes.
is a portrait that's done in collage with paper and fabric and thread and
Oh,
beads and some little mirrors. And so I love just using all the things.
wow.
Um, and it takes forever. And so I like toggle back and forth because when I paint. This isn't like, I mean, whatever. Some people go, just are fast. I paint quickly,
Okay.
maybe sometimes to my detriment because I don't like stop and think and let things take a break. But the collage, especially with the needlework, takes just a much longer time, and so I like to
Oh,
kind of bounce back and forth. It's the probably part of the ADHD part of my brain as well that like really needs that variety, right? But
yes.
that's so I tried to grab, since I'm not sitting in my studio right now, I tried to grab a couple of the different types of work that show like both of those kinds of things behind me.
That's fantastic. I love the movement from the horse behind you as well. That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. Can you help us out? Do you have the name of some of the online classes to take? Let's say I haven't, dabbled in the art in 20 years and now I want to take a few classes. So can you recommend any of the classes that you took?
Yeah, so there's a great online resource that like really made things click for me called Bold School. And they have and that really focuses on abstract use of color, but also a lot of focus on portraiture, some focus on painting animals, like all these things that I've really come to love. And so there's a Canadian artist, actually, and I'm probably going to butcher her name, but it's Charla Mars Kalk or Mars Chalk, who sort of heads up this school, I mean, for lack of a
Mhm.
better terms. And there's a community that I've joined that has like peer mentoring and sort of,
Mm,
feedback and a really good group of artists who are working a similar way. And they have a ton of classes that they have accumulated and you can sign up for. So I highly recommend that for people who are into like these kinds of things that I'm talking about, where it's about bold use of color and maybe like refining portraiture and those kinds of things.
that's fantastic. It's very educational. The other question I have for you is, I mean, you have more than one kid, you have pets, but you found a way to find your purpose, right? Like the you're still at where let's face it, a lot of parents, they don't have that thing that that they're
Mhm.
passionate about. Just, if I'm a mom and a spouse and I can't find time to take time for me, for the art, do, can you like recommend, what do you do? Like, can you recommend something of what folks can do?
Um, well, so in the beginning, when I wasn't in a back into a regular habit of practice, I really needed, I think, the structure of following along with the class to prompt me and make it feel like I sort of knew what to do next, or like I had an obligation to myself. I started this class, I'm going to finish it. And so that kind of, I mean, it's a self-imposed commitment, but that sort of commitment of being engaged in something that wasn't simply because I felt like it,
Makes sense.
and the structure of that, I think really helped me get back into it. I dedicated a teeny tiny space in my house before we moved here, and we have more space. Like literally, I think it was about the footprint of like a 5 by 7 carpet, and
Wow.
whatever I could put. It was in the basement, it was in the family room where there were Legos.
Yes.
And there were video games and there were cats, like all the things were happening. But I carved out this little, basically closet sized space,
Yes.
and that was my space, and it was in our teeny tiny house, and I still
That's
managed to do
great.
it. So creating space was really important to me. And then also just acknowledging that 5 minutes or 2 hours was still doing it,
I
and
love that.
whatever kind of time, like, and if I didn't have time for a couple days, having a dedicated space meant it was really easy to just slide in and pick up where I left off. I didn't have to unpack everything and set it
Right.
up. And so, those are things that helped me to get back into the practice and still be forgiving that I wasn't always going to have a chunk of hours to dedicate every
Yes.
day. Um, and thinking about how I hope how positive it hopefully is for my kids to see me taking time for something that I really value and that makes me really happy.
Absolutely.
And even if they don't recognize that, like as a thing now, maybe at some point in their life they'll look back and they'll go, "Oh, oh, okay, mom used to go and do this, and it really like it was her thing, and it's important to have a thing. And so thinking about the impression that that might make on my children, even though like on the surface it may seem like it's taking time away from them, I think like big picture, keeping that in mind too was really important to me.
That's so powerful. I mean, like what you said, just it's really going to help folks because I think a lot of parents don't seek their passion because it's, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. And you're like, you gave yourself grace. I may not do it today. I may just do it for 5 minutes. I'm not gonna put that on myself. I'm just gonna just do it whenever I can. And that is actually incredible. So thank you so much, Marisa, for like even mentioning that. That's a beautiful gift you just shared. Um, so as we close out, I want to ask you, is there like any advice or anything, else about the gallery that I didn't ask you that you want to bring up?
Um, that's a great question. The thing I love about the gallery is that literally anyone who wants to can exhibit. And I've heard some artists say, oh, that must mean that like the work is really a mixed bag, and it's not.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that because I haven't been exhibiting that long, it's been like maybe, 3 or 4 years. I don't even know what year it is right now, but it's been, maybe 4 years. But the first time I exhibited anywhere was terrifying because I felt
Mhm.
like I had to have had it all figured out. How do you price things? How do you frame things? How do you put a wire on the back of something? Like I didn't know any of that. And the thing I love about, specifically about Hartford Artists Association and the gallery is that because there's that huge range of folks who are involved there, there's always someone to learn from, and there's
Yes.
always like something to learn, you know?
Yes. Makes
And I
sense.
really appreciate that. And even though I wasn't totally new at exhibiting when I came to it, I still learned some things from observing the way artists handled, their pieces, and hope that, if anyone had a question, I'd be able to help them out. So I like that sort of like full circle, everybody's learning, everybody's in it together.
That's fantastic. Well said. Well said. Um, so before you leave me, if we know we can see your work at the gallery, which is
Mhm.
fantastic and beautiful. Again, it's gorgeous. Um, how could we get in contact with you, like on social media? How can we find you?
Yeah, I think I always send people to Instagram first because that's the thing that I keep most updated. And so if you search my name, Marisa Canino, I'm Marisa Canino Art, and my last name is Canino, kind of like it sounds. And so I am pretty easy to find that way, and that's where I put all of my like stuff on a sort of like a current basis. I have a website. I'm not the best at maintaining my website, but it's there. And that is
Yes,
also my name, marisacanino.com. And that's a place where I'm learning. And so I'm
great.
learning lessons from other people. But Instagram is where it's at if you want to see what I've been up to most recently.
That's fantastic. Well, again, Marisa, thank you for your time. Thank you for getting grants or helping us get grants for the gallery. We're a nonprofit. We need the money. And, just thank you for being an example of making the time to create. Thank you for that. So, I appreciate you, and I know that we're going to end up at the same event tomorrow. So, I will see you tomorrow.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me. And this was such a lovely conversation. I've really enjoyed it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, have a great weekend, okay?
Thank you. You as well.
Bye bye.